some noise for Toni Smoke on the beats.
Okay, hello, how you doing? This is Toni Smoke. I thought I'd put together a short tutorial on sampling and use of different sort of software and stuff to use. So, because I've always been asked what kind of software, what stuff we're using to produce. A lot of guys are getting it started, a lot of people have been doing it a while. I usually say stuff like Pro Tools, like yeah, Cubase, yep, Reason, yep, Studio One, like what's Studio One? Studio One's quite a light, quite quick DAW. It's really good for cutting up stuff and working on the fly. I've got a couple of good techniques and ways I put some beats together. So I thought I'd kind of show people an idea of how to do some of the stuff on here. So I've got a file that we've started on, and I'll show you basically the original sample and what I've changed it into. Okay, so up here I'll give you a quick blast of the original track.
Lately I'm beginning to see signs that you got leaving me on your mind.
It's a good track. I quite liked the sound of it, so I thought that I could chop up a lot of bits and maybe change it up. So what I've done, I'll cut to the track because I've actually done it, and then we'll take it back and show you how I cut the samples and how I placed it together kind of quickly. I'm not going to go into absolute overalls of it. This is just a quick one to show you stuff, and maybe if it's received I'll do some more. So okay, so what I'd done with it was this. So this has been done just with quite a few different cuts of the samples, getting some drum hits and creating a loop of the drums that we want to use. And there's like the snare, the hats up here. So we've got our sort of beats here, and there I can show you sort of ideas of how we do that. So it's sort of similar to an MPC idea, although I'm not using a pad, like I'm just using a keyboard to sort of play in notes, bass lines, etc. So let me start off. We'll take in and I'll show you how we cut this up to make it on time. So okay, right, now what we're going to do is start off, we're going to take the original track and we're going to chop it up and basically get elements of it that we're going to work with. Now first of all, what I'd always recommend is whatever track you're working with, determine what BPM you're going to start with. If it's going to be more relaxed, or you kind of just learn BPMs and just sort of know where you want to start with. Usually, in hip hop, it could be right down as low as 70, depending on what track you're doing. I usually aim 80 to 100, depending on the track. But right now, I've chose about 89, so that was my choice at the time. Now the track that I showed you, the original at the start, has been chopped up and placed into pieces like this. So we get the starting point like I've got here. I'll just keep the volume good. And it drops in, it's got a good heavy sort of vibe to it. It's the kind of sound I like. Anyone that listens to my tracks knows I like it, that kind of sound that I create. So for example, the starting point, I'll go through the sections of the track which we've got. We've got a doubled up here, which I'll show you why it's doubled up, because I'm using EQs to separate the bands and I've got more control of it. The first part's faded in, which has been cut. I'll show you to a tempo. That starting point of this it's very low. You can only notice the bass because I've got an EQ and another screen which I'll bring over later and show you. And when that kicks in, it's got all them running, but separately. And that's been doubled up here, this top part. That's all we're using there. We've got another high bit which comes in after that, which is a replica of this part here, except they're on, as I said before, on EQs. I'll show you quickly what I mean. On this one here, we've got an EQ running on this part. So we've just separated the bass. All we're looking for here, we've got to cut off some of the really subs which are going to make sort of bad noises when it's turned up loud. Find the sort of point where our bass is. You can see it's pick the point here and get rid of the highs. So when that's just running itself, as if I'm bringing the EQ back up, you can hear excuse me, how that sounds, which is the same as the part here. So when they're both played together, you're amplifying the bass up and still bringing up the highs here where you need them, where you want them. So, and then separately I've got a drum loop which I've created through Impact, which is a fine built in here. I've taken sort of kick snares which I really like, tuned them up, made sure they're sort of, it's quite important to make sure everything's tuned. These are from, I love this snare, which is from a track, Organised Confusion, Stress, and I just took the snare and a couple of the bass sort of hits. So when that's running itself, it's and the separate track I've got the hi-hats, which is a simple. So it's sort of following the sample, you sort of hear it if it goes. We've also got a crash, which you need for a wee bit of impact to separate things sort of for people. So as this goes through, you can see there's sort of different areas where I've cut up and used, recycled and used again. As it goes through, we've got other parts. Just a really nice part of the vocal from the track, which I thought good for a hook. Then you can create a nice sort of vibe down with parts like that, just leaving the sample of the bass we're talking about in, kind of separates it up, does a lot of the work for you if you cut it right. There's another part there which we've cut, which is just nice. It's got a nice organy high constantly in the back, double that again, so it's after the bit where it's just the bass, it kicks in nicer. Then after an 8, you're always looking to make 16 bar kind of loops out for the MCs, so we come in, do a 16 a hook, 16 a hook. There it separates again, so you're not taking focus away from what anyone's saying, but you're still creating a nice atmosphere in the back. And back into the hook. And it's a similar story basically going up, because right now it's at a stage where the beat's been done, it's waiting on whoever's going to use it, MC, to take it away and write parts to it and say, right, well, that's fine, I'm going to make it such and so many 16s or whatever's going to happen. So if you've got a format like that, it's easy for you to work with later when you're going to start creating an actual track out of it. So actually back to the sampling of how we cut up and get this right and make sure it works. So let me take a wee pause and we'll come back.